didn't want to live as a Templar, but you'll die as one. I, one, am the High Priest and Executor of your initiation.
The following film podcast frequently contains adult content, including foul language and descriptions of adult situations. Spoilers for the films discussed occur often. Listener discretion is advised. Now take it away, Dr. Rausch.
They must be destroyed on sight.
All right, welcome back. It is They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, episode 169. I'm your host, Lee, the High Priest and Executor of your initiation, Russell. Joined by my co-host, Daniel Books. That's what started the apocalypse, Harper. How you doing, sir?
I am ready to be given my initiation, sir. That's the. We'll just leave it at that until we get there. But that was a moment watching this film I did not expect.
Yeah, there's a few surprises in this film that we're doing this time out. We're going to be looking at Enzo G. Castellari's The New Barbarians from 1983. But before we get into that, we do have some comments to get through here. So first off, let's just get the fucking YouTube comment out of the way. This is a comment on our Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia episode. And this is from someone called Max Mayer. And he says, "You dumb piece of crap, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I don't care about your quote-unquote F-A-G-O-T," so he spelled faggot wrong, comments, yeah. "You cunt," more exclamation points. "I want to see the movie." And more exclamation points until the last one where he forgot to hold the shift key and it was a 1. And
they just descend into self-parody sometimes, don't they?
They do. It's just I don't know if he could. I don't know if he has the intellect to even appreciate a movie that's even as
Yeah. I mean, if he'd listened long enough, we would have told him where to find the movie. That's the thing. Like we always tell you where you can find the movie at the end. Yeah. Even if it's like, well, you got to pay for it or, whatever, but we would have told you where to find it. So.
I did suggest to him, I can't remember my exact comment. I think it was a bit more mean-spirited, but I did suggest to him that he could just buy or rent the movie.
Yeah. You could look for that film up your own asshole if you chose to. I'm not guaranteeing you would find it there, but it would be more useful than what you just did. An initiation of sorts.
Yeah. We have Jeff Williams' recommendation of the week. This time out, it's Rabid Dogs from 1974. He says, "I heard a rumor that the name of the podcast was being changed to They Must Be Friend George Eastman on Sight. So in keeping with that, let's all take a drink with good old 32 and watch as Mario Bava schools everyone on how to make a tense, compelling Euro crime film. And Luigi Montefiore shows him how to choose scenery like a boss." Yeah, sounds good. I'm down for any George Eastman stuff.
I kind of just want to let him program the podcast for like 2 months. Like that's kind of where I'm landing on this at this point. Because like almost everything he puts out there sounds like, yeah, I'm really interested in seeing that. Like he knows our taste well enough to kind of recommend stuff, and I'm just all like, yeah, let's just do that. So maybe we'll have to do that at some point.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's given us so many recommendations now. I got to update our master list there and put all of his stuff under the the listener requests basically, and we'll build a month or two out of that. I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere down the line. So again, thank you, Jeff. It's always good. And we got 2 comments here. First one from Derek, and who's from the Kill the Cast and Cinema Attack podcasts, and they got a bunch of sub podcasts and stuff like that, just like we do.
Because that's what you do when you're an independent podcaster who makes no money. You don't have one podcast, you have 8 podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all under one banner, and they share co-hosts, and then you guest on other people's shows, and there's just this giant interconnected web of like the expanded universe of podcasting to 100 listeners. That's the way it works.
If it's in our case, it's like 32 people listen to those shows, and that's
yeah.
But he says, in regards to the new Barbarians, he says all the hair is epic as all hell in this flick, and the Claudio Simonetti score rocks, and George Eastman being George Eastman. Yes, indeed. I'm sure we'll get into some of these details as we discuss the film. And my friend Ricky Morgan from the Hail Ming Power Hour, House of Wax, Short Bus Cinema, about a million other podcasts. I think he's trying to put them all together as one podcast at some point because he got a little ahead of himself there. But
it happens.
Yeah, he said a delicious crap sandwich. And that could also be an apt description for this film.
Well, I
don't know. We'll get into it, but...
not boring. That's where I'm going to land on. Not boring. Or rarely boring, shall we say it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, play some podcast promos, some music from this film, and then we're going to come back and talk about the new Barbarians.
Bad movies. The world is full of them. From low-budget crap fests to downright unwatchable. And only 2 men are willing to watch them all. So climb in and take your seat. This is Short Bus Cinema.
Let's do it.
Hey everyone, this is Johnny Krug from Kruger Nation.
And this is Rick Morgan from the Hail Ming Power Hour.
And we have decided to team up and take you where no one has gone before.
We're on a quest to find the world's worst movie, and we're doing it on the bus.
Driving through cult classics in every genre to find holy grail of bad movies.
So if you're looking for something different and more fun than you can stand, then climb on in.
Short Bus Cinema is a proud member of Legion Podcasts.
That's right, yo!
Short Bus Cinema. We love to watch the movies you hate.
You ungodly warlock.
All right, The New Barbarians from 1983, a.k.a. Warriors of the Wasteland, The New Barbarians, Warriors of the Wasteland, and Metropolis 2000 for some fucking reason. I don't get that one at all.
Metropolis 2000, yes.
Yeah, that's the West German title, apparently.
Yeah, very very cleverly working on the Fritz Lang leitmotif that lies underneath the thematic significance of this film.
Mm-hmm. Very much so, yes.
At the beginning of the 21st century, the nuclear holocaust had come to pass, and civilization vanished. It was a time of chaos and violence, until one day there appeared the New Barbarians. The New Barbarians. The New Barbarians.
Directed by Enzo G. Castellari. Written by Tito Capri, Enzo G. Castellari, and Antonio Visoni. It is starring Giancarlo Prete as Scorpion, Fred Williamson, actor, football player, all-around fucking cool dude who should have been the lead in this film, as Nadir. George Eastman is back again as One, Anna Kanakis as Alma, Ennio Girolami as Shadow. And I dare say he looks like fucking Stacy Keach auditioning for Battlefield Earth in this film.
We're going to get to him. Don't worry.
Then we have Venanatini as Father Moses, Massimo Vanni as Mako, Giovanni Frieza as young mechanic, and this is Bob from Host by the Cemetery, by the way, that little fucking prick. He's in this movie, cursing me again. Iris Peinato as Vinya, and Andrea Coppola as Mako's friend. And I don't know if there's any actual relation to Francis Ford Coppola there, or Nick Cage, but who knows?
Could be.
Could be. Synopsis here. I pulled this one from Wikipedia, because the synopsis on IMDb was even below our usual standards. So, in the year 2019, so very, very current. This movie,
very apt, accurate, right to the microsecond is the accuracy of this film.
Yeah, in the year 2019, after a nuclear war, humanity is reduced to a few starving groups. A ruthless gang called the Templars constantly raids settlers in an attempt to exterminate everyone in order to purge the earth. A former Templar, Scorpion, along with his allies, prevents a small band of religious colonists from being massacred by the Templars. And yeah, that's fairly accurate, I guess.
Yeah,
although, it is the plot. Whether that plot makes much sense as we get into it, we'll see.
Yeah, as long as you open, in this blatant Mad Max ripoff, that's where you begin. And then you can end kind of wherever. But, like, you have to, in order to properly describe the film, that's where you have to start.
Yeah.
Because it very much is that.
So, Daniel, I know this is your first time watching this, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
now, I saw parts of this before, because back when we had an Alamo in my town, an Alamo Draft House in the town, they would show kind of like bits of old movies and stuff to kind of like pump you up for whatever movie you're going to go see. And in front of Mad Max Fury Road, they had bits of the new Barbarians, which I recognized the second I saw some of the cars, and in particular some of the hairstyles. I went, oh, I recognize that guy. And so I had seen some of the, basically the car, the car chase footage, the stuff of people getting impaled and such with, metal spikes coming out of cars. I had seen that before, but this was the first time watching the entire film. So, yes.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts on it in general?
It was not an unpleasant watch. In places, it was an unpleasant watch. There's some really unpleasant stuff in the film. We'll get there. Stuff that really came out of the blue. This is one that, it's a zero budget Mad Max ripoff ultimately.
Yeah.
And for being that, it's fine. Like there's no, like, I don't have any, I kind of like these post-apocalyptic movies. I kind of like this kind of aesthetic. I like the zero budgetness of it. I like the fact that there are kegs everywhere, which I didn't even process as like, oh no, they're supposed to be like fuel tanks or something. I just, I was just like, I didn't even process that that's what they were trying to be. I was just like, oh, they're like, everybody's drinking themselves to death. Clearly, this is at a bar. No, right. This is supposed to be like fuel tanks or whatever. I think that particularly the first kind of half, I was kind of admiring the sort of the effort that was put into like putting a bit of a story together, and I kind of was landing on if you did this with sort of a modern effects budget, even like a small effects, if you did this kind of with modern sensibilities, you could kind of shoot this script and it might actually be pretty good. As the film goes on, I felt that less and less. I think the film does kind of like, even to the degree that like it was pretty entertaining and fun and kind of goofy and stuff. Once you realize you've seen all the action you're going to see, that you're not going to get kind of a big action scene at the end, and it just kind of becomes the thing that it is. It kind of lost me more and more. I did like the fact that it's kind of like, I say it's ripping off Mad Max, but it's just as much ripping off of some of the James Bond stuff of that time, and a bunch of the spaghetti westerns. Like, there's one element that's ripped completely out of the Man with No Name trilogy. So, you do love to see that, although not done with nearly the passion, with the kind of that Leone would kind of bring to that. I do kind of really want to see a post-apocalyptic like sci-fi action flick that's just shot like a Leone film. I think it would be amazing. And, this kind of did whet my appetite for that. Overall, I don't know that I'm going to sit and watch this again, but it wasn't an unpleasant watch for one time. And there's certainly some sequences that I'd probably kind of, I could see like putting on like some of the action stuff just as kind of fun, like stuff to watch on YouTube or whatever. So.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. And there's more to the film. I think there is a little bit of kind of thematic work and there's some character stuff, but yeah, that's kind of my overall impression, sure.
So that Leonian space thing you're looking for, apparently that new Star Wars series, that live action Star Wars TV series that's in development, that's going to show soon, like I think next year or maybe late this year. Apparently that is Leonian space, the way they're doing
right. They are trying to sort of prep it that way. Who knows if it's actually going to be pulled off. I trust Disney to do Leone the way I trust Disney to do, well, anything. we can Disney owns everything now, so who knows, but anyway, but yeah,
I've seen this before a couple times on VHS. There is a Blu-ray of this. I don't think it necessarily warrants a Blu-ray, but if you do want to see if you
want to see the plaster, if you really want to get in deep and see all the detail on that plaster, that's the way to do it.
I do kind of love just how incredibly cheap this is. Like, this is Castellari with probably just had some leftover money, because at the same time he was doing his 2 Bronx Warrior films, which made a lot of money and were very popular. And this didn't do either of those things.
Apparently he shot all 3 in 6 months, which is, yeah.
So this is almost like it feels like they had leftover budget from those two films, and it's let's make another film. Why not?
We've got $200. We're in Italy. We've got a car. Go.
We've got a car. There's one car, and then there's
one car, and then a few
buggies.
dune buggies. Yeah, let's make a movie.
So
Done.
Hey, Giancarlo, do you still have some of that sheet metal laying around that you're not using? Yes, I have that. Well, let's bolt it to these dune buggies and make them future vehicles. Vroom vroom. Okay. I think that's kind of what the discussion was, because the Foley work on this makes all those fucking cheap-looking little dune buggies sound like future cars that are going super fast when they're going like 2 miles an hour.
I love the fact that every automobile running in this thing kind of sounds like an electric razor. That's the aesthetic we're going for. I like to think that they were literally just taking an electric razor and running it over a Foley mic, vroom, vroom, and that's the effect.
Oh, and the one good car for our main guy, Scorpion.
Yep.
They took a nice looking muscle car and they made it look like the redheaded stepchild of the Batmobile or something. Like the way
it is like if you were to cross Mel Gibson's car in Mad Max.
Mm-hmm.
Were to take that and then cross it with the 60s Batman car. And then cross that with the monstrosity car that Homer Simpson makes in that episode of The Simpsons.
Yes.
And then you put like a big dome on the top of it. That's the thing.
Oh my God, it's terrible. It's like, what were they fucking
But it's
thinking?
so entertaining to look at that fucking car, man. Like every time that car's on the screen, I'm just like, what the fuck is that? Like, what's the bubble supposed to do? Like, and so I'm sitting there and I'm just looking, just we have to talk about, like, go Google this fucking car. Like, this is the thing you need to do. You look, I look at this thing and it's just like, so this film was made in 1982, 82, 83, something, so it's made in the early 80s. And so it's sort of in that vein of where everybody making this when they were a teenager would have kind of thought like all those 60s kind of futuristic Jetson cars were like the way of the future. And so they're kind of designing for that. But then it also has to be all run down and like destroyed and decrepit. So like apparently like it's 2019 in the universe of the film. It's been like 9 years, I think, since the nuclear apocalypse. Yeah. So they got up to 2010. So they had all these like futuristic supercars. But then everything's been destroyed by nuclear holocaust, and this is the world we live in. Which is actually, you know what? On a budget of $4, not bad, guys. I mean, it just kind of looks ultimately ridiculous, but I get what you're going for. I mean, it's actually like, yeah, sure. I buy this as a concept.
They were determined to make that bubble dome thing and that fucking plywood spoiler they put on the back look like the future, I guess. But
yeah, well, and the thing is that like the thing that seemingly like nobody ever kind of realized when they were kind of designing this stuff is that the market forces and capitalism would just sort of force companies to compete on things like gas mileage and and efficiency, and then eventually they'd start just designing everything in computers, and cars would all just get the same basic shape because you've perfected like how efficient you can make the aerodynamics around a vehicle to within like a few percent and then a few tenths of a percent. And so everything just kind of looks the same. No. Instead, we're gonna put giant bubbles on this and like completely reduce our drag and all that. So it's ridiculous. Right?
There's no vehicle in this that's aerodynamic. They all just have shit fucking hanging off them. Like it,
and they all handle like golf carts. So when it is kind of like oh man, you gotta learn to drive better, dude. I mean, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? We gotta tee off at the next hole now. Is that what's going on? Like, anyway.
But, I mean, I see exactly where Turbo Kid ripped off most of its sort of visual aesthetics from, because this is directly Turbo Kid's, even right down to the special effects, which are amazingly bad and amazingly ambitious at the same time. Because
Turbo Kid did in, 2017 or whatever, what they were trying to do here in 1983.
Yeah.
Just in 1983, that meant, like, let's have latex and, like, a little bit of, like, red sponge or something when you cut off a guy's head, and in 2017 you have like CGI.
Well, I think that they didn't do any CGI in Turbo Kid as far as I know, though. They just
did they?
recreated
Okay.
effects, right? It's all gore effects and stuff. It's all practical. Here, it's all practical effects, and I swear they must have had Castellari must have called up fucking Giancarlo or whoever the fuck, and it's like, do you still have that warehouse of mannequins laying around? and it's like, well, yes, I still have those. And then they get some really like Z-grade beef and just pack those mannequins full of them because
pretty much.
There's so many exploding bodies in this. It's just amazing.
Like half the budget was spent on dynamite. That's the reality. Blasting caps of dynamite, where you just blow up bodies full of rancid beef. Probably that's or pork or something. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, this is definitely one of those films where I knew that talking about it was going to be like more fun. I didn't even like actively dislike the film, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about some of this shit. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about, and the pleasure of the film, not the performances, not the but like the design of things and the kind of the sheer low budgetness of it. There's a lot of really really fun stuff in that, and so highly recommended for that at least.
Yeah. I would say, so talking about our fucking Giancarlo Prete as Scorpion.
Right.
I've seen him in other stuff, and he's perfectly fine. But I think it's just, he's cast more in the fact that he sort of has like Mel Gibson's hair more than anything else.
He's also like in his mid-40s at this point. So let's, and I actually kind of like when he first shows up, I thought he was basically like grizzled detective man in post-apocalyptic world, as opposed to like one of the people fleeing this cult, like this apocalyptic death cult or whatever. I was kind of on board with, post-apocalyptic detective goes around and or cop, goes around and like does stuff. I thought that was going to kind of be an interesting angle. No, it ends up not being that. I do kind of like the idea of having a kind of like pudgy middle-aged protagonist in a film like this because we just never see that. And I do kind of like that he's a complete loser and everybody in the film knows he's a complete loser. And yet he gets his like one badass moment and that's enough, Where even like the 10-year-old kid is going like, dude, you got to learn to drive better. Like you're not like... And yet they talk about him like Scorpion's gonna come and get you, and it's like, yeah, Scorpion's kind of a no.
Yeah, I think he's his own publicist or something like that. He spreads it around. Scorpion's a badass.
I think we get shades of Buster Scruggs here. They call me the San Clemente Songbird, or whatever.
But Fred Williamson is so much better as the natural like lead in this, and
right,
and you can actually tell that Fred Williamson can fucking act, but he's just doing these really bad lines, but doing it really well. And
Fred Williamson waltzes onto this from the set of a blaxploitation film, and just does that. He literally gets to like bang a chick just because he does. Mm-hmm. It's straight up blaxploitation,
Well, I watched an interview with him, and he's like, so yeah, I got hooked up with Castellari. He's in at least one of the Bronx Warriors films.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, so Castellari wanted me to do another one. And he's like, it's just a minor role, but it'll keep your name in the European market as an action hero, because he was big as an action star in Europe. And he makes a point to say, like, there was a big difference between my level of fame in Europe as an action star compared to being just a black actor in the USA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was good for me. It's like the movie wasn't good, but I had fun. I got to romance a chick, and this is the kind of thing you make in it. Like as an actor, you show up, you do your lines, you have a blast, and you cash the check. That's the thing you do. I'm sure everybody on set had a blast making this. I have no doubt of that. Yeah, but I mean, there is a lot of fun in this. I mean,
he's even got like the special specialty tipped arrows and stuff in this film. I mean, he's even got a gimmick. Sorry, we just behind the curtain, we just recorded an episode of our side project there about the Thor movie, and Hawkeye shows up in that, and I was like, oh, and then we get another guy with like super arrows who's in this.
This is kind of like if Hawkeye was black and wearing Asgardian armor or something.
Yeah, and he's got like explosive tips just like hung in there, which you don't even need a lot of force to make those explode, because at one point he literally just picks one off, he throws it over his shoulder. I can only imagine what this man must do in order to jerk off if he's using his left hand. Because this is not the kind of explosive ordnance you want that intimately connected to you. He doesn't have to like turn them on or anything. He literally just sticks it on and just shoots it. And
I mean, driving that goddamn dune buggy he's driving, he's got to have a bumpy road. Like if his gauntlet hits like the side of the car or something like that inside, game over.
There's also like he's got blue and red tips. And I mean, I guess the red tips are supposed to be like fire bombs, whereas the blue tips are supposed to be regular bombs. But they kind of, I love that at one point he like picks one over the other, and I couldn't even remember which one he picked. It was literally like, no, red, no blue.
I love
blue,
that you were like
blue.
trying to pay attention to that.
I mean, I was kind of invested in this one character, because at this point, Scorpion has been captured and he's being drug along, and you kind of expect, there's going to be some moment where like he cuts the rope with an arrow or something. It's like, no, keep dragging him. It's fine. Keep dragging it. It's fine. I'm going to take care of the one guy. I'm just going to fire an arrow in front of, not even hit him. I'm just going to like vaguely knock him off his bike. Okay, going to happen. Next guy, I'm going to shoot, and he's going to blow his fucking head off because I'm going to hit him right in the head with my incendiary bomb. And then the third guy, we'll just wait for him to get out and, like, hold still for a while. And so I kind of like to think that Fred Williamson is, like, the laziest hero imaginable.
Pretty much.
He literally just kind of waltzes on there. And when you see him, like, putting the tips on those arrows and, like, the effort that he has to go into, it's like the only reason that you're a badass is that no one else knows how to do anything ever. Like that's your superhero power is no one can hit you because the script says so, or just because nobody can shoot. I do kind of respond to these, and just to over intellectualize this slightly, okay? Which I never ever do as regular listeners know. I'm not even going to talk about politics here. There's no point. We will, but. Whenever I watch this kind of film, like whenever I watch The Road Warrior, the amount of gas that's available and like these biker gangs, I think Waterworld was the one when I saw that, and it just could not get it out of my head, the amount of fucking fuel that these people burn which is supposed to be like this super limited resource that like how are you like modern fuel? I mean, not to get like I'm not like a petrochemical engineer or anything, but like this is like highly refined stuff. This is like you need like technological mechanisms. You need like a whole society in order to make gasoline that you can burn in a car. These vehicles would be, completely, they'd be running on like vegetable oil. They'd run at 10 miles an hour. And if you did have like a need for some, like souped up thing, you would drive it as sparingly as fucking possible.
Maybe these were all electric cars.
Maybe they sound like it, but who knows? But then where do you get the energy to do that? Because you never there's no. Well, the other thing is like ammunition, and I know that this is just kind of goes along. Like they have like these laser gun, like these heat guns or whatever that they're supposed to have, which only makes this problem worse. But it is kind of one of those things where like ammunition is just everywhere in these worlds, And in some cases, you just kind of get that hand waved off. It's like, everybody was like stockpiling for the apocalypse or whatever, and there are like these caches all around. I kept thinking about like something like a Fallout 3 or a Fallout kind of game, but set in like this kind of like pseudo 1980s post-apocalyptic wasteland where everything looks like this instead of being that like 50s Z-Rust kind of idea. And then I kept thinking like, how fun would it be to play one of those games that had like realistic ammunition and damage, right? If you get hit by a bullet, you're out of commission until you seriously go heal yourself.
Yeah.
And you only have like 4 bullets of your own to like deal with, and like it's like infiltration missions and that kind of stuff. I was really thinking about that as a video game. Please, if someone wants to make that game, you can have it. I would definitely play that.
I think there has been games made that way. I know Fallout New Vegas has a mode that's very much like that.
Right. Well, even there, like you still have like stim packs and that sort of thing. I mean, it's just sort of like one of those where like if you get shot, you have to like restart from a previous save point and that sort of thing. Like where the whole fun of playing these games is the being able to kind of walk into the nuclear wasteland and blow things away. Like that's part of the fun of it. So, you know, I don't know. It just kind of strikes me as like everybody's got bullets. Nobody ever runs out of ammo. Nobody ever runs out of gas. And this kind of implies this kind of larger ecosystem that just is never explained. And that's not unique to this film. It's just, you know, there were big chunks of this film where I had time to think. Let's put it that way. And
yeah, and this makes me question what they were thinking. And like, I do applaud them that they tried to be slightly original some of the stuff going on here. You know, Castellari is like, what is this? It's a script. This is Road Warrior, right? The Road Warrior. We need to change that. And so they do change it a bit, but they change it in weird ways where, so apparently there is no fuel crisis in this world at all, which is kind of the central conceit of Mad Max and the Road Warrior. And then there's, you said, no ammunition problem, because even though they're using guns that clearly shoot bullets, they're shooting like heat lasers or some shit.
Right.
But then it brings into question, this is 10 years after the nuclear apocalypse. Why is there no radiation or contamination? Motherfucking Scorpion at one point stops his car and just goes over to a stream and fills his water bottle. And it's like, dude, like what?
Well,
like,
doesn't the religious cult sort of the good guy religious cult, like the space Amish? I keep calling them space, but you know what I mean.
The ones led by
the future Amish, you know,
future Billy Jack.
Yeah. Our future Amish, like you know, they even say like we lived underground in this like a vault, like hello, for 7 years as was prophesied, and then like we came up and then we've been wandering for 2 years, and it's like this sounds like a more interesting. So why are we not watching this story? Why are these guys not the heroes of this film?
I want to say, by the way, Hughes brothers, you fucking hacks! This is the Book of Eli.
Oh yes. They used to call it God. The apocalypse was 9 years ago. You are 55 years old. Like, back in the day, they called it God. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's so...
Sometime between 1983 and 2010, people just forgot all religion.
Yeah.
That's what happened. And that's why the apocalypse happened. Clearly, it was those godless atheists pushing the button, you know.
Oh, there's even a deeper read here for.
Oh,
we should just get into this.
We should get into this. The Templars, yes. Okay. Why don't you tell the audience who the Templars are, Lee?
The Templars are a bunch of men with
giant cod pieces.
Giant cod pieces, elaborate hairdos, semi-stormtrooper-esque uniforms, and they are a sadistic cult of gay thugs who are basically the worst end-all example of slippery slope argument that people against gay rights want to put out there. Like, if you give them too much rights, they're going to kill all the straights, you know? It's just basically
So let's describe this initiative. So Scorpion gets completely captured because he's completely useless. He's useless. He gets captured. They blow up his car. You know, it's one of those, like, it should be a real down moment of the film, but we're going to go so much. It's going to be.
We're going to go very different.
And previously, we've seen a character bound to this like kind of looks like a swing set kind of setup, you know, where, you know, the hands are kind of bound above him, and you know there's this thing around his neck, and we're not quite sure.
Equipment basically is what it is.
Yeah. It looks like some kind of rig, and you're just okay. Well, so you're gonna torture him or whatever. Like it's just the torture implement, and it is, but it's a very particular kind, because what you find out is that the one George Eastman. He shows up, and you think he's going to stab the guy in the back, but no.
No, he does.
Well,
he does stab him, just not with the knife.
He slices his belt off, and suddenly you get shot of his bare ass. Middle-aged, flabby white ass. Looks probably very much like my ass. I'm not gonna, you know. There's no judgment here. And then another man comes up and forces his head down through this pulley mechanism thing. And then you see the one. He reaches to his crotch and starts like, you don't see anything, but he's definitely pulling something out there. And then lots of shots of a very suffering Scorpion while the other men look on dispassionately.
There's some disco lighting. There's some disco-esque soundtrack music going on that definitely makes this look like a gay porn from the 1980s.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was. But then later, he gets interrupted. Doesn't like pull his pants up or anything, and then later on, you do see like he's not like flapping in the breeze or anything. So maybe he hadn't quite consummated that moment, but it certainly looked painful. He did. So let's just say we have had to deal with the topic of rape more than maybe we would like on this podcast. It comes up pretty regularly. This is the first male-on-male rape I've seen in a film that we've covered, at least that I can recall. While I admire the desire for a bit of equity between, this is about the worst possible way to handle this topic. Just to make the apocalyptic death cults literally described as, a bunch of queers. So it's not even like this one guy. No, the apocalyptic death cult is just gay men.
Yeah,
that's who they are.
I will say, slightly in defense of this, and I can't believe I'm trying to defend this. It does kind of bring up the subtext of the Mad Max, the Road Warrior, and bring it to the full front because it's implied in Mad Max that the biker gang is mostly gay, if not entirely gay.
Right. There are ways of kind of handling this material. There are definitely sort of, this film, I don't want to say there's no subtlety, because even the concept of subtlety is too subtle for this film. Not enough film here for there to even be, there's not even two dimensions in this film.
No.
Not the kind of film where you want to try to explore the this kind of issue. It came out of nowhere. It was definitely one of those moments. I was not bored. My wife is sitting and watching it with me, and just kind of idly on her phone. And when she cuts when he cuts the pants off, what?
Yeah.
And then when he reaches down and like starts to unzip his pants, I went, "You gotta watch this. Get off your phone. Rewind." And she's like, "Wait a minute, is this happening? Is this really happening?" Yeah, it's totally happening. And so this film brought my wife and I together. We shared a moment watching the butt fucking. That was the thing that happened. So,
but it does explain and basically acknowledge.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah, but it does explain and fully acknowledge this like weird love triangle thing early on between like the one, his second in command Shadow, who looks like Stacy Keach, auditioning for Battlefield Earth.
I have a similar complaint about the oil thing, only it's related to hair dye.
How much fucking hairspray is there in this universe?
Hairspray, but this guy has like a purple mohawk. That takes work to maintain. This is I now have this vision of this guy. Like, I really want to see a post-apocalyptic movie where there's like some gang sub head guy, who's obsessed with this, like getting his hair dye perfect, and so they're constantly like raiding convenience stores from the like pre-established, to find like the perfect color of hair dye, and they're mixing hair dye for him, and then he kills underlings that bring him the wrong shade. I kind of had that fantasy while watching this film as well.
Well, and
wouldn't you love to see that post-apocalyptic movie? Wouldn't you love to see that in the bad guy?
That sounds like a post-apocalyptic movie that like John Waters would make.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would be on board for that. It feels like all these people came from a vault where, like, if it was in the Fallout universe, this was the vault where they fucked with the people by not giving them food or anything, just hair care products. That's all they had. So they had to escape the vault with their hair care products to find food and water.
Right, yeah, no. There's a very clear pecking order of hierarchy in terms of like how good your hair is. Even our George Eastman, he's got that like feathered tip, kind of look, yeah, the hair in this film really, really worth it. And even Scorpion, he's got good hair. You know, he's kind of got that little bit of. He's got that little bit of a.
It's kind of Ron Burgundy, but not quite as the proper.
I was thinking of who's the lead in The Last Goodbye? Elliot Gould.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking like older Elliot Gould. You know, kind of that kind of look. You know,
it really is weatherman hair. Like it's TV weatherman. Like, before the apocalypse, he was a TV weatherman. Like
I just get, like he walks in from like the streets of San Francisco or something. Like I really expect him to be like this Columbo figure with a gun. You know, like no, it's just like this is such. You know, so many better movies occurred to me watching this movie that it was entertaining in and of itself. Honestly, you know, I would love to see a movie of post-apocalyptic wasteland, like cop traveling around to the villages, kind of man with no name thing, chasing after a petty thief who is, kind of ordering his underlings to get hair dye.
Mm-hmm.
And I think since we know that there's a director watching or listening to this podcast, I think Albert Pune would be the perfect person to direct this film.
I mean, this is pretty much the sequel to Radioactive Dreams.
Although this came out before Radio, but no, very, very much. They could be set in the same universe, Yeah,
because it feels the future Amish. They're trying to like travel to this like promised land thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost feels like all these people are like having their little conflict confined within a few thousand square miles or something like that, and then like the outside world is still going on.
You get that feeling a lot with a lot of these films, and they're even like talking about it, like, do you think there are other people alive? And this is like The Village, but this is The Village, but even shittier. That's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, fucking Shyamalan, you hack. But yeah, so the second in command to the one, like again, Stacy Keach auditioning for Battlefield Earth. Like he's got this weird hair bun thing going on, which is just he looks like Stacy Keach in, I don't know if you ever seen this movie. It was a horror anthology with John Carpenter as the Crypt Keeper type role, and Body Bags from like the early 90s. If you look up Stacy Keach Body Bags, you'll see pictures of him. Like his segment is one where he gets like a hair transplant because he's going bald, and it starts growing like luxurious just hair everywhere, and he's pretty much dead on the same. And this guy looks like Stacy Keach as far as I'm concerned, like totally
awesome.
like him.
I don't know. I feel like we've hit the high points, and we haven't even talked about like the pretty girl that's in it because she's barely in it. But
except for sleep with our schlub of a hero.
Yeah.
And then she just kind of gets put on the side. Like she's just...
I guess there are two pretty girls, one of whom sleeps with our hero and one of whom sleeps with Scorpion. That's the,
Yeah.
See what I did there? No.
Yeah.
No. One of whom actually has a personality and seems to be interested in fucking someone. And the other one is just kind of a prop for the movie to show her tits a couple of times.
Yeah. Although they don't even show them. They have them like in a silhouette.
They have it in a silhouette, but later on she's receiving medical attention from The Wiz, like one of her boobs is just like hanging out there, and that's I counted that. Not that I was watching for it or anything, but I was expecting it. Frankly,
she has nothing to do, and I mean, if you're going by your like hair care product thing, she's obviously targeted for the Templars because they're like, where did you get your shit? Because her hair is just up, very much up.
Yeah.
I just got to say, fuck Bob, the little kid from House by the Cemetery. I hate him. He's this little mechanical genius in this movie who...
I don't know why they have like a 10-year-old be the mechanic. There's no point to it except he gets to use a slingshot because he's like a little rapscallion.
I'm surprised they didn't like explain it that he's like a midget or something, because you had the explanation like I'm actually 200 years old. I'm just like poisoned by radiation or something. You had that right there. Right there. I mean, we can rewrite this fucking film.
We have rewritten this film. Between the two of us, in the like 40 minutes we've been recording this podcast, we have rewritten this film, and it was better.
And speaking of costumes and. But by the way, everyone's fucking costume has to have like shoulder pads for some reason.
It was the early '80s. I don't think that they made costume. I don't think that they made clothes without shoulder pads in the 1980s. I think that was just
the Templars shoulder pads especially look like
they look like they're wearing football equipment, like American football pads. That's what they literally look like that, exaggerated.
But speaking of the rip they do here from for a fistful of dollars, where they have the spaghetti western showdown at the end with Scorpion and the One, and Scorpion's wearing this like big fucking poncho at first, and he gets shot, pulls it off, and the fucking armor he's wearing.
It looks like something out of Barbarella. What it looks like, and like the kid has informed us through, like, very late in the film. It turns out, I have not just like bulletproof glass, I have bomb-proof glass. You can throw bombs at me, and I will laugh at you, Nadir, Fred Williamson, and then like, and now I can make it into this carapace and give it to you, and you can like wear it around. It's like, motherfucker, where were you? Like you could have. How many lives have been lost? Because how many lives are lost in this film? While this guy's like, he's literally had ducking behind cars and shit. And it's like, dude, you are wearing the like impenetrable bulletproof vests.
Oh, literally, like almost every life is lost because while they're fucking around, the fucking Templars go and find the future Amish and murder like literally. They murder
like all but like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like every character with a name dies in this film. That's basically what happens. And most of those don't have a name because almost no one has a name. But like anybody who has a line of dialogue ends up dead at the end of this film, except for like, our couple of heroes.
And I mean, the very direct Mad Max 2 ripoff, the Road Warrior ripoff, where they do it twice in this film. First, it's the Templars surrounding like a little caravan of people who are basically circled their cars around. In that confrontation, fucking, there's this here's where I was like paying attention a little too much. There's this one guy in a green jacket that dies like 10 times. And
you paid attention to that. I paid attention to which one of the bombs Fred Williamson was going to take from his gauntlet. So, I get it. Sometimes you hyper focus in these things, like, what's going on screen? I need to know.
I was thinking that scene was fucking. It was basically Be Kind Rewind, like where they're recreating Mad Max 2. That's basically what that was. That's how it looked. But yeah,
there's some Bond stuff in this too. Like there's literally a shot where Scorpion shoots somebody kind of through a pipe, and you see like you get like the scarred face from the heat gun or whatever, and then he falls over, and then you get like the reverse shot,
right?
And you see looking through the pipe at our hero in quotes. And it looks very much like ripped off from James Bond. So you get that, which, hey, you know what? I'm down for it. You're having fun. It's a fun moment. I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, and also just like the gadgets all the cars have.
Oh, no, all the cars have gadgets, and they have like these like really weird like crazy gadgets. In fact, the way the One gets dispatched because the kid gives our hero Scorpion a drill that he just attaches to the front of the car. And how do you kill the One after the initiation ritual? You stab him through the back of the car into his somewhere on his back, I'm assuming up his ass, with a giant drill.
Yeah.
And then that's how he dies. It's poetic justice, you see. Yeah. That's the level to which this film goes.
That's where Castellari just like yelled cut and went, "Oh, masterpiece!" He's very, very deep, very thematic. Yes, they're gonna love it.
That's not even my favorite of the gadgets in the film, though. My favorite is at one point, one of the bad guys throws a bomb onto like a time bomb onto the car, onto the supposedly like the Mad Max car, and he presses a button. And the door just pops off and flies towards the guy that just shot. And it's like, what? Okay, I'll grant you. useful in this circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And what other possible circumstance is this technique useful to anyone?
Advanced door magnet. That's what it is. I mean, it just rips the door off a car. It was a police device before the war or whatever.
Let's just fire the door off, because that's a thing that's used, I guess like an escape hatch sort of thing, but like ultimately, we had the budget to build like one little spring loaded device, and so we did.
Yeah, no, it's just like,
and then the film commits to it. He drives around for the rest of the film with no door, which and no seatbelts. No one wears seatbelts in these films, but
no, not that you really need to when you're going 2 miles an hour. It's just you can't justify it. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those like so bad it's good, like legitimately so bad, good and entertaining kind of films. I would pair this with Death Sport, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No, I haven't. So we need to see Death Sport. That's key.
We should do it. But this is like
this would be one I kind of saw this in the I saw this like prepping for a podcast. That's not the way to see this. The way to see this is to grab a beer or a substance of choice, whatever your substance is. Get some people together who like watching bad movies and sit and watch this. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean this is not one of those bad movies where it just like drags way too much. Like there's always something kind of going on in the film, so it'll keep you watching even to the end, I think. It's
90 minutes. I mean, there were a couple of bits where I was kind of like, all right, let's listen. I think my thing was I was also expecting kind of a big car chase scene at the end, because normally the way these are structured is you get like some action stuff at the beginning and then you get some action stuff at the end. And it's not that you don't get action stuff at the end, but it's just kind of it's
spaghetti
hiding
western
behind stuff, and I mean it's bad spaghetti western. It's like the low budget cheapo spaghetti western stuff. And I mean, it's fine, but I was really wanting like one more big car chase, and you just don't get that. So, and some of the gore stuff is pretty fun.
It is.
First, it's funny. Like they front load like all that like cool stuff in like the first 20 minutes or so. So,
Yeah, and I think that's what I like the most about it. Like that's the thing I really get a kick out of, because it's one of the two surprising things about this film. It's the rape initiation thing, which is just like, what the fuck? Where did this movie go? And it doesn't go really any further after that, which is like, man, they could have took this down a deep, dark fucking pit of despair if they wanted to.
This could have been another Soldier Blue, like at the end.
But it's that, and just like the first time I remember seeing these.
Man, imagine if Corbucci had directed this, and like at the end, everybody dies except for the one.
Oh, oh man, no, that's. And I enjoy George Eastman overacting. I always enjoy that. He obviously had fun with this shit.
Yep.
So yeah, I got no trivia for this one. There's everything you need to know is on screen on this.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And we kind of chatted about it. I mean, if you read the like production notes, there's some fun stuff kind of buried in there. I mean, this is a cheapo movie. It was made to make a little bit of money. Apparently, it made not really any money, but like over the decades, I'm sure it probably maybe turned to I don't know. Who knows?
Made back its $400 budget. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
So DVD info for this, you can get the single New Barbarians Blu-ray or DVD combo pack from Blue Underground from 2015. You can also get this in the post-apocalyptic collection from 2018, which is what I own on DVD or Blu-ray, and that comes with also Castellari's other two films that he filmed within the 6 months period with this. 1990, The Bronx Warriors, and Escape from the Bronx. And we're going to be doing those this summer on the podcast. So
awesome! Yeah, no, I was wanting to do those, so definitely. This is on Amazon Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime person,
I think it's on YouTube,
and it looked pretty good. I usually I pay for Amazon Prime if it's there. I typically use that. It's just sort of an easy. It convinces Amazon to keep it on the service, if nothing else, if people watch it. So
Yeah, I think they probably got the Blue Underground print from that.
Likely. I mean, it looked fine. I didn't, there was no. It didn't look amazing, but it looked fine.
Yeah,
it looked like what it was. So
So next time we might be going slightly off course here and doing a Fulci film because Paul.
There is no off course for this podcast. We can do anything. We're gonna do 6 months of like baby talking movies. That's gonna be our next. It's gonna be Look Who's Talking and all of its clones. We're gonna go back and do all the
Oh my fuck!
No, we're not
baby
actually gonna
geniuses.
do that. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, no.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make we're not even gonna cover the films one at a time. Like there's so much resonance. We're gonna cover them like one movie across 3 episodes. Baby Geniuses, first 22 minutes. That'll be, that's where we get our real audience from.
Yeah.
Those podcasts that'll do like Star Wars, like a minute at a time, and they'll spend an hour talking about it. That's what we're going to do, but we're going to do it with Baby Geniuses.
Baby Geniuses a minute at a time. The most niche audience ever to listen to that shit.
There's a podcast which is made by some really entertaining people. I haven't listened to it because it sounds insufferable, but it also sounds amazing based on the quality of the people. And it's called The Worst Idea Ever or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And the idea is it's 2 guys and they review the same film every week for a year. And it's all like they did Grown Ups too. Oh, and they rewatched it 52 times and reviewed it 52 times.
Jesus Christ. That's insane.
You have to keep watching it and you keep having to and then like in every episode they'll do The Shining Light is one of their segments. And so it's like, okay, find something good to say. Can you imagine watching this film 52 times and like on episode 47 you have to find something new positive to say about this movie?
Oh my god. No, I couldn't do that. They're masochists, like if they're fucking doing that.
At least one of them is from New Zealand and there's just not much to do in New Zealand. So,
I guess except like dodge big spiders.
Although it seems to be more Australia. Probably New Zealand as well.
No, New Zealand they've got the big fucking huntsman spiders that crawl into people's houses and like go behind their clocks and shit. No. And then you pull the clock off the wall, then all of a sudden you got this fucking big ass spider with like a leg span like bigger than your fucking hands.
That sounds worse than watching Grown Ups 2 every week for 52 weeks. Or maybe.
I would contest with the spider. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Anyway, I just distracted the audience for 3 minutes. It's fine.
It's a thing. It's what we do. But yeah, we're probably going to be looking at Lucia Fulci's only foray into sword and sandals films, although there's a bit of a sci-fi bent to it as well. And we're going to be doing Conquest.
Okay.
Awesome. I can't remember the year, 1980 something. Paul requested that one, and it's like, yeah, we should fucking do that one because that one's pretty fucking batshit crazy. So we're gonna look at Conquest next time.
Awesome. We're gonna conquer it. Probably not initiate it. We should not do an initiation.
No, we're gonna try to sway away from that. But initiate the audience on where they can find you on the internet there, Daniel.
Well, if you do care to find me on the internet and you haven't already done that, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Daniel E. Harper. I mostly tweet about terrible, terrible people talking about terrible, terrible things like mass genocide. Also in this film, not worth taking completely seriously, so we didn't mention it, but it's in this film as well. I also do a podcast called I Don't Speak German, which is about those same kinds of people, literal neo-Nazis, terrible, terrible, awful people. Yeah, you can find that at I Don't Speak German.libsyn.com.
Awesome. And you can find us at tmbdos.podbean.com, or you can find our Apple Podcast link, YouTube, Facebook, join the Facebook group, and you can sort of find out what's coming up on the podcast and all that good stuff, and you can interact with us. And
you can ask questions and we'll answer them on air, even if they're completely terrible.
Yeah, but so far we've been lucky with the Facebook group. It's not YouTube. Let's just put it that way.
Or you could just find one of our episodes on YouTube and post a comment, and we will also read that on air.
I had a thought. I was wondering, like, because I've noticed we've gotten more like really just abrasive YouTube comments lately. I was kind of wondering if some of our listeners,
some of our regulars, are actually doing it on purpose. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
If you are doing it, please let us know, because we'd like to applaud you for like making highly accurately terrible YouTube comments.
I mean, I've got to say, the one at the end of the exclamation points of that's that feels a little too on point.
A little too contrived for you.
You told me that one, and I was kind of like, well, that might be somebody funny with this. That could, because that's been such a cliche for like 10 years that it's hard to imagine anybody did that unironically. But who knows?
Yeah,
you're just so angry. You're typing so hard, and you just forget the shift key for that one exclamation point, and then hit enter before you notice it. Because I can only imagine that someone who spells the who uses one G in that other F word, unironically. You don't even know enough to use the like YouTube appropriate slurs. The ones where you recode it as something that doesn't get caught by the filters. No, you're just going to use the one G. I can only imagine that guy's account got deleted, or is on its way. I need to go find that guy and find his account and find what other videos he looks at.
Max Mayer, Mayer.
Well, who knows? He might have found the podcast through the other work I do. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. That could be it too. But anyway. But until then, until next time, we will see you guys again. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you all for listening. Goodbye.
Cheers.
You have been listening to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight. For other episodes, our links to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and our Facebook group, as well as links to podcasts and websites of similar interest, please visit us at tmbdos.podbean.com. Thank you. Drive through.